Will you send a text to Danielle and CC me and be like,
Just give us a second. We're getting ready.
Yeah, no problem.
So what does he see?
Us right here from that Sony.
Yeah, I see you in the wide.
What's up, brother?
How's it going, man? Do I call you Patrick? What's
Yeah, that's cool. Why don't we zoom in a little bit here? How's that?
I'm gonna open up my own recording here.
You can even move it up a little bit.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about that. Are we rolling?
Yeah.
I've been thinking about that that video you did in the bathroom where you're like, let me tell you something. Oh fuck.
I think I know which one you're talking about.
And you're like, you're dead. You understand? That's like all you said. And I tried to show that to Wikum the other day, and I feel like he didn't. So how old are you?
I'll be 27 in November.
Okay, because Wickum's
24.
24.
Yeah.
I'm fucking 37. So I'm 10 years older than you, but like I feel like your comedy is more like geared towards like an older demographic, but it also resonates with young kids too, you know?
Yeah, I feel like I kind of sit in this really weird intersection of a lot of shit.
Yeah.
It's really weird.
Yeah, no, it's not weird, bro. It's like, it's the future. Like, we're not limited to one thing anymore. Like, you know, like I'm sort of scared to reference Joe Rogan because I feel like you don't like him, or maybe that was just a joke.
No, it's funny. Like Rogan, I used to listen to all the time.
Yeah.
But it was just like a thing where he's almost bigger than he should be.
Right.
Just like like it exists. It makes a lot more sense to exist for like a niche crowd than it does to just be like.
Sorry, hold on a second. So
Okay.
I'm hearing him from the speaker on the laptop. So that means it's picking it up here.
No, well,
Does that make sense?
What do you mean?
Like the sorry, Connor, we're
No
still
problem.
we're still trying to dial in this like remote. Okay, so I hear him talking.
we
Wait,
tested
here's
it out. It doesn't. We tested it.
this mic is gonna pick up.
No, it's not.
Really?
Yeah, we've done this before.
Oh, okay. Oh, because it's Zoom. Zoom has this really amazing technology where it doesn't pick up like the person on the on the other end.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know about? Are you familiar with this?
Yeah, I do. What I do with Zoom is I just record the actual Zoom video,
Right.
and then I just and then my friends send me the audio. That's how I do my pod. But yeah, it can be finicky. It was funny watching the whole world kind of figure out how Zoom works all at once last year, because I had kind of been using it for work, which I'll just say I'm not going to talk about anything I do 9 to 5 because I keep that shit completely separate from this stuff.
Cool.
I'll just say that. But
That's funny because I feel like it is kind of a mystery, and I feel like people do.
Yeah.
Wait,
I
who
do.
said- wait, who
Mikey was
said-
wondering.
Oh,
Yeah.
Mikey, yeah. But wait,
It's-
but what I was gonna say was like Joe talks about being more than just one. Like I'm the same way, bro. I fit into too many different categories, and I think that's what's prevented me from growing for over the years. And that's part of what I love about you is like you're not just like this one. I'm like, oh shit, like I feel like I'm kind of getting to know this guy in a way that you don't really see from like a lot of I mean, I feel like even like big comedians, like you don't really, it's like you don't really get to see their character. I don't know. I just think you're really funny.
Thank you. I mean, branding of what you, I was thinking about this the other day of like podcasting has kind of gotten us more information than we need from certain people, like comedians or people like Joe Rogan or whatever. It's like I should know like what Joey Diaz's like health and fitness routine is necessarily, but if you listen to him, you know what he's doing. He's like, oh, I'm going to get, chiropractic, then I'm going to go smoke, then I'm going to do this. Like, what his day's like.
And that's like, it's like, we're good on that. Right? Is what you're saying?
Not necessarily. It's just like, it's funny, right? Because it's like before, a comedian would never, they'd go on stage, they'd tell some jokes, maybe they make some self-deprecating jokes that reveal some information about themselves. But now you can listen to Bill Burr talk to you for an hour for like four times a week, 3 times a week, however much he does that Monday morning podcast. Like these comics, they podcast constantly. So you just have all this information coming in.
Yeah.
It's just an interesting format to me.
Yeah.
It really is.
It is kind of crazy. So we're not supposed to hear him in the headphones.
No,
Why not?
because Zoom's not set up like that. It's just set up as.
But he's got headphones on.
He's asking all the right questions.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. We're gonna have to. I've been trying to get like this figured out for like a while now. We the first one we did, we had like somebody on a phone, and yeah, they recorded their own audio.
Mm-hmm. I'm recording mine right now. We started pretty quick, so I didn't even save it yet. So I had to stop and save it. But you'll be able to. I think you'll be able to use it.
Well, I think he has headphones because he's like one person, so you can just like plug in headphones to the laptop. But like we both need to hear him. So
You just
That's
have
true. It might be a splitter situation for you guys.
right. That's it. It's that simple. So yeah, you talked to my boy Chris.
Is that what? Oh yeah.
You hear about this?
no, Chris Avejo?
Yeah, which actually is so crazy because he literally that was the person who called me earlier in the podcast.
Have you guys been recording? Like before like is this like a segment, or this is very elusive, sort of interesting vibe?
Oh well, yeah, because
you said earlier in the pod, so I'm thinking, oh, maybe there was like they recorded 40 minutes before 5 o'clock or something like that.
No. Earlier in the podcast, my friend called.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Did you not hear my phone ring?
Oh, okay, gotcha. I thought, never mind. I'm making things confusing. Yes, I did hear your phone ring.
Yeah, so I was just saying that was my friend Chris, who you spoke to, who has his own agency, who like really fucks with you, and who I showed. I don't really send him a lot of people, but I sent him. There's just one other dude on TikTok. TikTok's crazy because like you can discover people.
Literally, yeah.
Like I hope and pray that you get what I think you deserve, which is like a massive audience. But it's just, but it's just such a weird place where you can like kind of like get like, we have our own little thing going on, and it's like, there's just room for, it's almost like we're in a 7-Eleven now. And like in the 90s, we were in like an In-N-Out. Like there was like big artists, like there was like less, they were all good, Nirvana, Pearl Jam, fucking, I'm going to use the music industry as an example, like Stone Temple Pilots, like, oh my God, these bands, Tool, Rage Against the Machine, like huge fucking, and now it's just like SoundCloud. It's just like 1,000 new artists every day. It's like, which pack of gum do you want? It's like, it's good gum, but like, there's just so many more options, and I don't really know if it's a good or a bad thing. And we have this conversation all the time, like me and Wikum, and I'm usually leaning more on the like fucking, I wish there were more like Sublimes and Alice in Chains,
I mean, I agree. I just feel like now it's easier for like the underdog to make it. And like, there are pros and cons of not having like gatekeepers. But I think one of the pros is that like now, like a kid with this laptop can like blow up without getting like
which is cool, but it's also kind of a bad thing because like a lot of the kids with their laptops are blowing up just because they're like, they look like extreme,
right? And
they're like saying some extreme shit with tattoos on their face, and it's like not.
Or there's guys like Post Malone.
Dude,
who's like amazing.
Isn't that funny? It's like one or the other. It's like, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Like, what are your? I mean, you obviously grew up. I mean, you must have been I mean, you're referencing all these fucking bands, like, so you obviously know that music. Do you love that music too, like the 90s music or the early 2000s like rock type shit?
I'm not like totally in love with that sound. I mean, like, but there was obviously some great shit from that time.
Yeah.
Like,
What are some of the things you love?
well, like Rage, obviously, System of a Down, Nirvana,
Yeah.
like that shit is the best they got, really. I think those three bands are like, that's maybe the best three sort of more hardcore rock bands of the 90s, early 2000s. But no, I mean, I just tell you the truth, my dad, you know, he's almost 60, classic rock fanatic. Two things he loves are classic rock and history. And so I grew up him having the radio on, talking about the Beatles and classic rock and all that shit constantly. And then, you know, my sisters really like Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, and all that stuff. I got an older sister. She's just like 3 years older than me, but you know, she had a boombox and like a CD set of just all that stuff. And like as a kid, you're like, oh, I hate this because I'm a boy. This is girl music. But you look back and you're like, damn, that was really quite a moment. All those pop stars in the 2000s.
You hear those songs, like those are incredible songs, like Max Martin and some of those producers were like, if you hear a cover of like a fucking NSYNC or a Britney Spears song, like Weezer did a cover of like, you know, what's that? Oh no, it's gonna be me, or whatever.
It's gonna be me.
Justin Timberlake one. If you hear like that song, like presented in like a different way, like with just guitar and vocals, you're like, holy shit, this is a fucking incredible song.
Yeah, I understand that like most of the pop music is produced out of like Sweden. Like there's like a very specific sound. I mean, some of my favorite music in the world is like that Justin Timberlake Neptune solo album, like that sound, at least the Neptune sound, that clean pop sound. I mean, even Hit Me Baby One More Time by Britney Spears, like that piano dun dun dun, like
it's insane.
Brutal production. Insane.
It is.
and shit's not like that anymore. It's way more like flattened and kind of like, I don't know. It's like they used to make music that was radio friendly, but like you could listen to it with some cans and you can really hear how fucking fat it is.
Yeah.
But now it's just like it sounds the same on radio as it does on Spotify, as it does on whatever. So
yeah. All right. So yeah, you're right. This is kind of crazy. Like
I had a quick question for him. I think I saw in your story, I don't know if you're being sarcastic, but you put Die Lit was your favorite album of that year.
Yeah,
Oh. Yeah. Dope. So you're like a big Playboi Carti fan.
Huge. I mean, he's right there.
That's amazing.
Haven't you seen his like Playboi Carti? Like
I've seen your videos, but I didn't know if you were like a fan of, like, if you actually like
you were like
to his
making
stuff.
fun of him, right? Yeah, I love it.
That's a lot of people. It's so funny. A lot of people can't really tell if I'm making fun of something or if I like it. And I kind of like that because that's how I view kind of everything in life. That's how I view people, even. Like some people I find extremely charming and likable because they're easy to make fun of, or because they're quirky, or because they're not self-aware, or this, that, the third. And I might like that, but I might also make fun of them. I a lot of the times think I can get closest to someone when I feel comfortable making fun of them to their face. And like, it's almost my love language in a way.
Yeah.
So like with these songs that I make fun of and these artists, like I don't necessarily dislike or like them. I'm probably on whichever, it depends. But what matters is that it made you feel something, you know. And like I don't believe in like just doing negative shit or shock shit or whatever. But if something made you feel a way, if something stood out, like that's what charms me a little bit. So like, you know, with Playboi Carti, when I mimic him, I'm making fun of him, but making fun of him, but when I'm mimicking him, I'm explaining to you exactly why my ears are so attracted to him and what my ears hear and what's so exciting to my ears when I hear him.
Yeah.
Like when he sounds like that, like when he sounds like that, it's like you have to understand he does that, but he's able to make that actually work and transcend to something else. And that's what's so amazing to me. And I know fully most of the time he's hardly in the formal sense trying, if you know what I mean. Like he's not really, there's a certain flow you can really tell is coming out of him. People like him, Uzi, and it's something that people like Lil Wayne had back in the day. Like it's just this ability to get in front of a microphone with a good beat, and whatever comes out of your mouth, no matter how insane or stupid it sounds, it works, and it creates something higher than the sum of its parts, you know.
It's so incredible. Like hearing you explain it from that, like in a way, I just imagined, you know, like your dad trying to understand and just being like, what are you talking? Like, and if he were to listen to it, he would be like, this is garbage. But yeah, it's just a trip, dude. It just reminds me of like when like Korn came out, the older people were just like, what the fuck is this garbage?
Right.
You know, because it just sounded, or even you could even probably say like Skrillex. There are probably a lot of people who, you know, older folks who would just have no understanding of why that's incredible.
Yeah, you explained it in like a really good way. Like I've tried to explain Playboy Card. I've even tried to explain it to you before, and I just like can't. I'm like, I don't know. It's just dope.
Well, yeah, but you didn't.
It's hard to like break it down.
Yeah, but even
like,
you didn't understand it.
I didn't understand it at first. It took me a while to like. It's like an acquired taste almost. You kind of have to keep listening to it. At least for me, like. At first, I was just like, what is this? Like, there's no like depth or like, he's really like repetitive. But then I started listening to him more and I realized it's more about like how he flows like with the beat, and like the production's like a big part of it too. And yeah, now I fuck with him like heavy.
Maybe it's
I remember when he kind of existed, the longest time there was a meme that was like Cardi put out a mixtape because he was huge. He was viral. Every song he would put out would either leak or go viral, but he had no project, no mixtape whatsoever, but he would play shows. He was rich. I mean, it was like, he's truly the SoundCloud kind of Michelangelo in that sense, because his first project period, he didn't have a mixtape, EP, nothing, was that self-titled album from 2017. And he just got a huge radio hit with Magnolia off his first album. Like his trajectory is crazy. But I just remember like him being kind of like before his first album came out, late 2016, it was like he was really cool because it was like this artist who didn't have any hits or wasn't really on the radar, but if you knew about him, you knew how cool he was. And now he's like a superstar.
So we've gotten like super carried away, which is okay, but I just kind of want to go back to like, so this is Connor, a guy who I discovered on TikTok, who I liked, and you live in New York. That's why we're doing this remotely. And you want to just kind of tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, how did you end up in New York? Were you born in New York?
No. I wasn't.
Like, so you are kind of like the transplants that you're making.
So you see that theme is there, the kind of both sides thing of like, so like, do you actually? I'm making fun of myself, but I'm also making fun of a guy who's a little bit worse than I am. You know what I mean?
He does this thing on TikTok where it's like he's making fun of like transplants in New York, like people that like move to New York and then all of a sudden like adopt like the whole New York thing, and like they have this, confidence and ego about being a New Yorker when like they've only been there for a year or two,
Right. And you see it a lot with people that have been there for like a couple months, like where the people who are there for a couple months and they start gatekeeping. Yeah. And it's like, I'm probably doing that. I am doing that by making those videos too. It's kind of like the snake eating its own head there, or eating its own tail there. But it's funny because it's like I mean, basically the concept of those are just that, like, you know, it's almost like trying to be meta to that observation. Everyone knows people go to New York and they act like they're New Yorkers. But what if they went to New York and they started acting like Italian mobsters, like that New York, like they're literally were born there.
Yeah, you're taking it like really far, and it's an excuse.
Right.
It's an excuse to do that Italian mobster New York thing, which is just funny when you. It's funny when you do it. I don't know if it's just a combination of the whole thing. Like, I love how you don't take yourself too seriously and you rock like a mullet and a mustache, and you just like do these photos where you're not like super concerned with like how you look, you know. And I just think that allows you to be able to be like authentic. And it's one thing that like I have, and I do this with my wife and the whole crew. The whole like Learning to Lose crew is like, it's all about like, look, dude, let's just be real, you know. Let's just be on. I don't know how much of what we do you've seen.
I've seen a good deal of it. Like, I can't say I'm like an avid follower of the pod necessarily, or I follow everything, but I follow you. I follow Learning to Lose, and you know, you get a good sense of kind of like what you guys are about. Like, I feel like the transparency definitely comes across. It seems like that's like a really big thing for you guys.
Yeah, because
like radically.
Well, yeah, like, because I think that the idea that everyone is presenting some prepackaged perfect version of themselves is contributing like very much to the shame of our culture and our youth. And it's like kind of a problem. And I think it's okay to like do prepackaged shit and like look good, but like I think that like to a certain extent, it's just starting to become, it's almost like, I think that's also why cancel culture, because everyone's so used to seeing the perfect version of everyone else that as soon as they see something fucked up, they're like, oh my God, like he fucked up like one time. Let's fucking cancel him. When the truth is everyone's fucking up every day. They're just not showing it.
Right. I think that's like, you uploaded something about how, and I'm going to paraphrase you, so I apologize, but like you basically said, I try to look and act crazy as I actually am, so that crazies know that I really am crazy like them and they can trust me.
Yeah.
And like, that's exactly how I am from like a nerd loser perspective. Like, I'm a loser and a nerd, and I'm not going to hide that.
Yeah.
And like, that's going to attract, because like, I know a lot of people that follow me kind of like live vicariously through me, or they feel like they know me, or they like feel like I could be them. And like, when I have confidence, when I'm authentic, when I'm out there with myself and opinionated and outspoken and shit, it's kind of like permission for them to be so also. And I feel like that has positive and negative consequences. Like, some people, you know, like I was just talking about, it's an open market, so anyone can do anything. And that what that gets you is some people that really shouldn't have a platform get one. That's always going to happen. But I do think it kind of opens things up a little bit to have real conversations about shit when you are willing to, you know, my mindset is kind of like, I'm doing this for like, you know, the guys that are honestly just like me, that are, you know, nerds and don't see themselves as being confident people, as being socially at the apex or anything like that. You know, I sat with the nerds in high school. That was it. Like I sat with all the fucking nerds. And it was because those were the only people I could feel comfortable around and trust, because they were authentic. And it wasn't my fault that, you know, 15 to 18-year-old boys have no security whatsoever. But, you know, it was like, all right, none of these people I can relate to, because none of them are secure with themselves. Why? Because they weren't bullied as much as I am. The bullying forced me to be secure with myself earlier. They were not. They're going to have to be bullied by life to find security. I'm already there. I'm not going to hate myself just because I'm early to that process. I'm going to hang out with the nerds who are on the same page. And it made me much happier. And I learned that in 8th grade. because when you're me, you figure that shit out real quick because you're a loud squeaky wheel and you get dealt with.
This is
You
like
have to figure your shit out.
This is really cool because I'm noticing the parallels, and this is kind of something it's hard to explain. And as the internet and as social media is evolving, I'm being drawn towards this like transparency and like this whole idea of learning to lose, which I think you just broke down in like a really cool way. Like Connor like lost by being bullied. He was broken. Life and what seemed like a bad thing at the time, that's what gave him his strength. That's what like made you turn into someone who was just sort of like, fuck it. Like, it's almost like, you know, it's darkest before the dawn. And like, that's the whole thing about learning to lose is like, own your, like, when life is pummeling you, it's like, what is the lesson here? And if we can all try to change how we look at all the things that we think are bad or negative or flaws or arguments or fights or drama or all that stuff, is like, just embrace it all and fuck the shame part of it. Let's all grow together from it, and let's all just be fucked like together.
Right.
Together. I don't know. It's
I think like here's another thing I really think, now that you just said that, like the idea, which I agree with, and I'll explain the modification to it that I want to make. I agree with the idea that like life is handing you shit, and it's like, what's the lesson from that? To me, like, I believe we don't deserve any bad thing that happens to us, and we don't deserve any good thing that happens to us. We don't deserve life or death. We just are. Yeah. And so to me, it's like, when life is giving you hell, like, I don't see it as what lesson is that giving you? It's what lesson are you going to give yourself out of this? Because at the end of the day, you're on your own. You are on your own. You got to love and protect this person. So what lesson are you going to give yourself? What are you going to take away from it? Life's not going to give you anything. Right. But it's going to give you a lot of stuff you can give to yourself. Yeah. Like, that's the issue. Because the one thing that you got to, I think, is that you can't feel like entitled to not suffer. You can't feel like every moment you're not suffering, you've earned and you're entitled to, and that's how things ought to be. And every time you are suffering, you also earn that, and that's how things ought to be. You can't have both. You see what I'm saying? Like, like, you can't think that, oh, I have this addiction or this problem or this flaw, I deserve that because I'm a bad person or whatever. Like, you don't. But well, also, you don't deserve, you know, the good fortune you have in life, because life's kind of chaotic like that. That's how I feel.
Like, yeah, well, I don't know if you're like, I don't know where you sit with like God or spirituality, but I think that's where that part comes in for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. If you're looking for some sort of deeper, and I mean, it's so funny. He's playing Phantom Menace in the background.
Yeah, I noticed that.
I love that. He's just like owning it. He's like, yes, like, this is fucking who I am. This is what I love. And I feel like it's because of Connor that I've recently gone back and watched Phantom Menace. I started with Phantom Menace because I think you said something along the lines of like, you were speaking of Fellowship of the Ring.
Yeah, you were telling me you watched Fellowship of the Ring after I was talking about how they're like such highly rewatchable films.
Yeah, they're
like comfort films for me.
But then I just went, yeah, they are. And then I went back and watched Phantom Menace, and now I'm on Return of the Jedi.
Nice.
I just went all the way. I went all the way through it, and it's so comforting, man. But like, the reason that I'm thinking of Star Wars is because I'm thinking of the Force and the dark side, and using life and using these experiences to bring us closer to what I would call God or the Force, or the energy of, you know, the binding, the symbiotic relationship we have with every living thing, like the midichlorians and just whatever you want to fucking call. Like, where do you sit with all that, with the spirituality side of things?
Yeah, I'm very much like, I know this is like a sobriety podcast, but I've had experiences that like with, you know, that have opened up my eyes and things that on that
No,
level.
well, just so you know, it's not a sobriety podcast, and Learning to Lose is not like a recovery brand. My wife gets like high every day, and it's all good. It's like what we're talking about. Yeah, no, it's all good, dude. Like I'm
just out of respect, I wanted to make sure.
But like, I want you to know, like, just so you know, like my wife is like 50% of the brand, right? Learning to Lose, which it's still, people are still kind of a little bit confused because I'm sober. She's not. That's part of why we've both grown so much. But our highest selling item of merch is her little weed. There's like a little weed leaf and a fork. And it's like, don't munch. Like just because you're high doesn't mean you need to eat.
I love that.
Yeah. And like, that's a thing that you buy from learningtolose.com, and Learning to Lose is just a brand about like a certain way of living, and it's not.
I love that.
Yeah. I found.
No, I totally get what you're saying now.
And a big part of like what I do is I'm trying to not alienate alcoholics and addicts, because I feel like because of certain, I don't know, I don't like the whole like clicky, culty, like I'm sober, we're a part of, it's like, dude, like we need to be able to coexist with all people. And if we're like wearing our like recovery as like a badge of honor to like separate ourselves, like I'm not like that, and I want to sort of expel that that notion and reach all people, because I think that like I've found a certain way of life through the steps that like all human beings should find through however they want to find it,
I love that. I think that's like something that's really like missing in a lot of the stuff I've seen is like, because you'll have friends that'll be like, oh, I'm not on that shit anymore. You're on that shit. You're lazy, blah, blah, blah. Like they'll almost like shame you to
that's great.
Buttress their own like fortitude for their own, you like that word, buttress?
Yeah. Well, that's just because they haven't like if you're really working a program, if you're really doing the deal, you're like trying to apply principles of like humility and like open-mindedness and acceptance and love. And like, you're not doing that, but it's hard to not like define yourself by like, oh, I'm like the sober guy. And it's hard to be around other people and accept them for the normies that they are, or just for like they're like, it's all good. Like I have a physical allergy to drugs and alcohol, but like, if you don't, like, it's all good. Let's hang out. Like you can smoke weed and I'll fucking have a cigar or whatever,
Yeah. But back to what you're saying about religion though. So like I've done LSD, mushrooms, MDMA, like LSD specifically. I had a very intense trip. I just think like there is something really greater than even religion that is what we are and what we exist like within. But for me, like I was raised, like I'll tell you this, I was raised Roman Catholic, straight up, like kindergarten, like private Catholic school. I went to a Methodist preschool, like a Catholic elementary school, Catholic middle school and high school. Like it was an all boys Catholic school from 6th grade to 12th grade. And like I see, I'm sorry.
You mind if I ask where?
In St. Louis.
Oh, okay, cool.
The well, yeah, I can say the name. I mean, the name of the school was Chaminade.
And crazy. I wanted to go to Chaminade in the Valley.
It's William Joseph Chaminade is like a Marianist priest from Bordeaux, France, and it's a couple really big basketball players. I like Jason Tatum, who's one of the biggest players in the league. He's on the Celtics. He was a year, I think, younger than me.
I grew up in St. Louis.
Grew up in St. Louis. Oh yeah, that's right. So I grew up in St. Louis, went to film school in Boston at Emerson. Then I went to I went home, worked for a summer, and then immediately moved to New York. I wanted to move to like maybe Berlin, but it was just like at the time it didn't work. But
why New York?
Yeah, I like honestly the culture a little bit. I do like the kind of hyper confrontational culture. I do like that it's a little bit grimy and gritty. I like that people a little bit more overt about their suffering and their kind of like their pain and impatience. Because that's kind of how I am. I'm kind of like a short-tempered, not super short-tempered. You'd have to ask somebody else. I can't report on my own temper, but like I'm a little bit of a sensitive person. I get agitated, whatever. It just felt like a better culture fit for me, and also it felt like it was a little bit more culturally, like like New York's had this brilliant culture for years and years and years, and I like LA. Many of my friends are LA, and I spent a year in LA. And there's lots of beautiful things to do in Los Angeles and just California in general. But it's been industrialized so early on in its inception, whereas New York was like all this organic art and culture came out of stuff like poverty and things like that, like all this crazy shit. Like there's a really good movie you should watch if you want to get like a totally different look at how LA and the film industry like portrays itself and the insights you can get from that. There's this movie called Los Angeles Plays Itself. And it's kind of long, but it's a documentary that's a compilation of films that were shot in Los Angeles. And it's the most photographed place on earth, but you look at it and it's like, why would anyone necessarily want to take a picture of that? It's very flat, very deserty. It's kind of desolate in a certain way.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And they say like it's the only city that looks prettier at night like than it does in the daytime. Like you would want to look at it at night from very far away rather than up close. And so I just think like because of the fact that like the industry has such a strong presence out there. I mean, I told your buddy Chris, like I hate the media / industry in general. Like I hate it a lot. And so I saw New York as an alternative, as a way to, whether I'm successful at the gate or not, I'll at least have a pretty interesting experience and I'll go through shit. And if I don't, if I don't like it, I can always move to LA or I can move to somewhere else or whatever. But I didn't want to do just like the thing where you go to LA and you get an internship at fucking BuzzFeed and, like just because I went to Emerson, which is like, Emerson is like a toy factory that makes secretaries and assistants and PAs. That's all it does. It makes people that are assistants to people like Ellen DeGeneres or whatever. And they have an internship first semester, literally on Sunset Boulevard, like across from the BuzzFeed headquarters, right next, like 2 blocks away from where Amoeba used to be. And you just have an internship and you work for free and you work at one of these like little media companies. It could be like BuzzFeed or it could be like a YouTube channel or anything. And then usually you get hired there. So it's like this pipeline of like, you pay all this money to go to film school, then you go to here for a semester, and then you get a job that's like you're making annually what it costs. Like you're making annually probably what it costs to go to Emerson annually. And then your hope is to become a producer or something, it's just like just to get in the fucking rat race. But it's just I
think you made I love New York. My whole family's from New York. I have a huge strong my dad's always talking shit like these fucking Californians are lazy, like they don't know what real work looks like, and New York, I think the weather in New York breeds harder people. So I think it is oversaturated out here, and teach his own. I think you made a good, I mean, obviously, whatever road you take, whatever path you take, just fucking take it, and
right,
it'll all lead to wherever it's supposed to lead. So Chaminade, you were at Chaminade, you were introduced to like Catholicism, and you probably have like an idea.
Dude, I know so much about Catholicism, it's stupid. Even though I've like not really tried to maintain the knowledge, I know so much, like the catechism, all the rules, everything. Like I used to know so much about it, and I probably stopped being I didn't really have any kind of formal faith after like 8th grade, I think I was kind of like, I'm not into this really.
You think that like kind of turned you off maybe to like the whole idea of like God?
Maybe. I mean, it was definitely teenage rebellion, but it's also like the thing that and this is what I'm trying to tie in, the difference between spirituality and religion. Like the thing that I didn't like growing up was how rigid and how you had to go to this boring thing every week. And there was this, and it's the same things that you hate as a kid that turn you off from religion are actually the things that bring people a lot of peace in adulthood. Is that rigidity, that structure. Muslims pray to, 3 times a day towards Mecca. Like that's a cadence to your life. That's a rhythm to your life.
Yeah.
And I can understand that now as an adult, that, that can be really comforting, and it can give you a lot of strength. I think as like a little rambunctious, kid, you're like, why in the hell am I sitting in this church for an hour, wasting my time listening to something I'm trying to tune out? You're just absolutely tuning it out. So you feel like it's kind of wasted on you. It probably is. Taking a child to actual formal Catholic mass and having them sit there and just sit there the whole time.
It's ridiculous.
You could probably cultivate so much other stuff in that hour in that child. Like, I don't know, show them a film or a documentary, or take them somewhere, have them paint, do something,
Yeah.
But as an adult, it's like the spirituality is that vague sense we have that like there is something seriously greater than us, probably exponentially more complex than we could possibly with our brains understand.
Yeah.
And then religion is like, how do I bind? Because religion means to bind. It means like, it almost means like shackle, like slave, like you're bound to something. I feel like the religion binds you to the spiritual world through a dedication, through a commitment. And I think that gives you a sense of peace and order in this chaotic world, whereas spirituality is just generally knowing that things are interwoven and connected. So I haven't found religion to be necessary for me. I found more like exercise, mindfulness, things like that to be a little bit more helpful. But I think it's just another kind of tool like that. Obviously, it becomes a problem when it's structured into an institution and it becomes a violent institution. That's when it's bad. But, that's kind of how I look at that.
Yeah. Like when life gets hard, I think sometimes the only way I can make sense of it is to just like close my eyes, or I don't know, like meditate, or just try to connect to something that I don't understand and that's looking out for my best interest, or like maybe not my best interest, but like things are going to get worked out if I'm trying to do the right thing and carry out. It almost sounds fucked up to say, but like, what is God's will for me? Like, and I don't even like, I hate that like the human beings have like ruined that word God, but like, it sounds like you've found your own understanding of that word, or whatever, your own understanding of something. Like like my definition of that word is exactly what your definition is of what you believe to be that thing that's greater than you.
Yeah, I would say like I don't have a personal relationship with God that like some Catholics do, where like you really think you're talking to him, and you have like crazy story. One time my parents took us like out in the middle of the woods to meet some lady who claimed she could talk to God, and like she was straight up like as if she had like an earpiece and was like giggling to herself, like God was telling jokes. Like I was like, what is this? But so I don't like have that necessarily, but like, I have human perspective, and what human perspective gives you is every single one of like something I try to keep in mind is every single person you see on the street is you.
Yeah, I love that.
That's you.
Yeah.
Every person fucking up, every person doing evil shit, every person doing bad shit, ugly, stupid, ignorant, person that annoys you, they're all you. You're the same person. You're all the same person. So that's one thing I think about. The other thing I think about is that a lot of our problems are so worsened because we have a beginning, middle, and end mindset to life. We have like a linear thinking of how life works, and we think about all the shit that happened in our past. We worry about all the shit happening in our future. And if you can actually just get rid of those two things, because they don't exist, all that exists is the present. Future and past don't exist. Then you realize, like, I'm just sitting here.
Yeah.
Like, there's not anything going on. Nothing bad is happening in this moment. I'm not cold. I'm not hot. I'm not bleeding. I'm not hurt. And if you just, the more you can get aware of all those things, I think you can find your God, which in my view is just tranquility and peace and harmony with, so
The present moment.
the present moment and with just reality.
Yeah.
And so I think that is the same thing.
And that, like, what you just said is like pretty much the main goal of AA and the steps and being sober. Because like we're worrying about fucking the future and the past. And hey, the only way I know, the way I used to quiet my mind and get into the present was like drinking. And then I did that so much that I ruined my life. So I want to like pivot to like some movie shit. I didn't realize. What if I was just like, hey, so what do you think about fucking Gandalf? Or yeah, because I mean, I don't know how much time you have, but we sometimes we'll talk for hours on this podcast, but like I don't want to keep you for super long.
No, we can get into some movie shit. We'll get into some movie shit.
Yeah, well, because you went to film school, which I didn't know, which is awesome. I have a production company, and the reason I started that production company was because I want to make movies. That's always been a passion of mine. And before I did that, I made music because I wanted to do music stuff. I don't know if do you know about like anything that I've done?
I know you were in a band. I know a little bit about that. It was like, it was like an electric sort of hip hop.
Yeah, we were like fucking popping on MySpace. Got a little record deal, did some tours with some artists. We were kind of coming up with like DJ AM at Banana Split when like Aoki and like that electronic movement was pop, and like LMFAO was like, we were like really tight with them, and they became sort of an embarrassment. And
what is it like? What was because like I have this thing where it's like sometimes you get fans and you're like, oh man, that's my fan. Like, did you have any of those? Because I feel like you definitely had a lot of fans. You're like, oh, I'm embarrassed looking at some of my fans.
Yeah, no, I mean, I hate to yeah, I mean, there were some cool ones, but I mean, like there were a lot of like girls with like a lot of different necklace, like bracelets on their colorful bracelets. And there was there was a lot of neon and we definitely attracted a lot of those kinds of people. But then we also had like a lot of like people like you, like nerdy, like, cause we were like very much Nintendo, Back to the Future, retro, like throwback, like that was our whole thing. Like our first mixtape was like a recreation of like the Back to the Future, the cover of the first Back to the Future movie. And we had like a DeLorean in our second music video, and like a power glove. The power glove was like a thing that we would bring out on stage. We had like LED lights for the power glove, and it was this whole thing. Like Duck Hunt was like, we sampled things from like, Big, the movie Big, and like the movie Kids. And so it was kind of, we were trying to be like a cool throwback, but yeah, it's you can't really control who
likes you. Yeah. So I get so many guys that have in my DMs, and it's just like a guy, and the photo is him standing in front of a lake with his girlfriend, and it says class of 23 in some fucking college somewhere. That's like 90% of the people that follow me.
Wow.
It's like, is a guy who looks like that.
Yeah, I don't even trip. I mean, yeah, it's funny. I never really like focused. No, it's weird now that I'm doing this thing with my wife. Like we're attracting a lot of like women and like middle-aged people, and I'm like, you know what, like that's cool. Like why do I I feel like we have this idea in our mind of like what a cool audience is, but like who gives a fuck? Like you said,
Right,
people are
right.
people, and we're all one. And I think that the more we grow, like the more like diverse the audience will become, and it will just, it might start as a certain thing, but like, you know, it'll become like a little bit of everything, which is sort of what the fan base was at the end there. But yeah, then I started the production company because I want to make, I mean, movies are really what changed my life, and like what in Wikum too. Wikum went to film school.
Nice.
So what are your like some of your favorite, or some of your like your favorite directors, or what do you love?
Well, right now, the I've been going through and watching a lot of, like, almost all of Akira Kurosawa's movies.
Wow.
Like just going through and watching damn near everything he's ever made.
How do you watch Ran?
Ran?
Bro, that's what I've been
Is
trying
that
to watch.
Akira
bro.
Kurosawa.
Yeah.
I've never tried like watching.
We
any of
should
his stuff.
try.
Got Ran right there.
Dude.
Got a Blu-ray of Ran right there. It's a great
It's the
movie.
most beautiful. I mean, when you start that movie, like right now, you're just like, oh my God, this is insane. And you know what I just recently discovered is that he was blind when he made that.
What?
Kurosawa?
Yeah. I mean, he was going blind during
Oh, right.
photography. He was pretty much blind during the shooting of that film. But he had
Wow.
already drawn out all the storyboards, and like
Whoa.
I guess he had, yeah. I just recently I forget what it was. Maybe it was a Quentin Tarantino podcast, or I forget what it was that made me start tripping on Akira Kurosawa. But I never really was able to like have the patience to just like go in and like stay in and like get through the films.
Right.
But
Yeah, I
Seven
mean,
Samurai is like in Jizza's album, right? Did
yeah,
you know that?
yeah. I'm sure he's referenced. I'm sure the
Like,
Wu-Tang affiliates.
Yeah. The Wu-Tang affiliates.
Yeah, I'm sure they've made many a reference, but
Yeah.
well, and part of that, to your point, I have to make myself sit down and watch films. Like,
Yeah.
I have to. Like, you kind of have to make yourself do it. There's some films that I'm like, oh, this will be funny. Like last night, we all smoked and watched the new Space Jam. And that was a riot. I mean, not in the way they intended, but like that movie is like violent. And what I mean when I say that movie is violent is like, I mean like so much violence went into supplying and creating the intellectual properties that then created that film. Like so much exploitation and just like capitalistic, just like brute force made that movie forced into existence. Like so much money. It was almost like that was it was like violated like into our culture. Like, you know, like we did not have consent. Like that thing was just made, and like you have to know it exists now. And it's like it's violent to watch. It's like you're watching. It's like you know how there's like blood diamonds. Like that's a blood film. It feels like blood has been spilt to create it.
I fucking love. It's like the same feeling you have when you're watching a commercial.
Yeah, or
like
some of those
audio.
Marvel movies where you're like, well, there's way too much money and capitalism like involved in making this get off the ground. Like,
yeah, you know how like when you watch when like it doesn't happen often nowadays, but like when you have to watch like a sporting event on like regular cable and you get forced.
That's the only time, right? When you watch commercials, it's sporting events.
And dude, but these commercials now are just so, I'm like disgusted, like because it's like a bombardment of your senses, and they're like the voice is really loud and the shots are bright and it's just like fucking buy this, and it's just I can't even watch. I can't even watch it.
Well, also
So
I feel
get
like
what you mean.
we're like more, just because we don't see them anymore. Like we stream music and we stream shows and we stream movies. When we do see commercials, it's like
appalling.
It's jarring. Yeah, it's like
it's disgusting.
And you start to understand that like the people who are like just the, like you said, normies, just totally flatline, well-adjusted, just like people in America, like who they are the people who watch the most sports, and like that commercial, like they're the people who actually think those commercials are like funny and enjoyable to watch and like quote them, like the fucking State Farm or the Geico or the Progressive, like those people, like you start to understand their psychology by watching those commercials and their demographic, because it's like always a song from like 1983 or like, you know, something like that, some hit song that's like, oh, you have to be a square 45-year-old to like know this, to like feel a sense of nostalgia for this song.
Yeah.
And it's always like a dude rock, you know, they're not playing like Gary Newman or something, like they're playing like, you know, they're playing a hit, they're playing like a Dude Bro Def Leppard song or something.
Yeah.
You know,
how cool is that though, that Gary Newman, bro, fuck, that's a Toy Story guy, right?
Or no, that's I think we're mixing them up. No, Gary Newman, the Cars guy, like the synth artist. You're thinking of the You Got a Friend in Me motherfucker. I forget his name.
He's pretty rad too, though. Actually,
I like that guy. Yeah.
Gary Newman is from the band Cars.
No. He made that song "Here in My Car." That song.
Gary Newman did.
Yeah, I think so. Right.
I don't know, but how great are the Cars though?
Those are a classic dad band right there.
Yeah.
Gary Newman, N-U-M-A-N. That's the guy who made the song Cars, which was a big hit in the 80s. But I was just throwing him out because he's kind of like an 80s artist who had like a one-hit wonder, but like there's music heads that really fuck with like his music in general. And like, do I fuck with who?
Steely Dan.
I mean, that's you're talking about one of my favorite artists ever.
I just knew it. It's so crazy because like we are like, if you had seen like me and you, like I was completely the opposite of you in high school, but like through like life, and like, cause in high school you have the little cliques and you're still trying to figure out who you are. But like the truth of like who people are isn't about any of that. Like Steely Dan is like one of my favorite bands too. And I feel like, yeah, we share very, very similar interests. And it's just crazy when you said you hung out with like that particular crowd.
Yeah.
I would always sort of be attracted to like I remember trying to like talk to people that were in that crowd about like Star Wars and like stuff like that. And I remember them like sort of like being like kind of mean to me in a way because because they thought I was like a cool guy or whatever. But really,
like at that age, you're not like you're not a developed human being. At that age.
Yeah.
Like kids won't even like kids will like genuinely ruin their lives to impress the kid they think is like who also doesn't have it figured out.
Who like the cool kid at the time who's probably most likely going to become absolutely nothing. Like have you seen Friday Night Lights?
Oh, I haven't seen that movie in forever. I think I saw that movie in theaters.
All these really cool football players. It's such a great film because like all these amazing, cool star athlete football players, like they end up losing the state championship.
Right.
It goes on to show you like this guy became like the car mechanic, and this guy, you know, they all just became like normal, just like their parents. And it's like you can't use whatever you thought you had in high school to define who you are like throughout your life, you know.
I remember that movie was like, yeah, it was a very exciting movie. Like, I'm pretty sure they cast a bunch of like 29-year-olds to play the high schoolers.
Yeah.
Like 29-year-old NFL players, and then it was shot almost like a Jason Bourne movie. It was like very like glossy and kind of intense and realistic and like.
You know what? Peter Berg directed that. Yeah. Wait,
Wow.
what did you just reference? Wait, you just said it was shot like a what movie?
Like a Jason Bourne movie, but Peter Berg's whole filmography is kind of trying to direct shit like Paul Greengrass, whoever made those movies.
Right. But but he's actually pretty dope. Peter Berg has done some cool shit. I think he kind of went in like the wrong direction there, obviously, with I think he did like Battleship and like some sort of
he did something. He did Lone Survivor, Patriots Day, Deepwater Horizon. Wait,
like
he did Deepwater Horizon and Patriots Day in the same year.
But Friday Night Lights is dope. It's really dope. Did he do that?
I haven't seen The Kingdom, but that's another one.
Yeah, like
Hancock is the one that I do like a lot.
Yeah,
like
but
Hancock.
The Kingdom is dope, and
he did The Rundown, it looks like.
And I also didn't mind Lone Survivor. Like Lone Survivor is pretty, like the story is pretty dope. Like that was a cool thing to make.
I'll have to peep that one.
But yeah, the Coen brothers, I think are like pretty much my favorite.
Have you ever seen Repo Man?
Of course.
Okay, yeah. The Emilio Estevez like 80s punk. Yeah, of course you've seen that. Yeah, of course you've seen that.
But I mean, I don't really like remember it being like good or anything. What one Point Break actually is like
that movie's
a master.
Point Break rules, dude.
Yeah.
Point Break rules.
You know Catherine Bigelow, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
James Cameron's ex-wife too.
Yeah, it's a trip. Like he lost for Avatar and she won for Hurt Locker.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure like I was listening to something, or my friend was telling me that first of all, he was pissed off about that.
I'm sure, bro. It's the most expensive movie ever made, losing to one of the cheapest indie films ever made.
And I don't think he ever like I think in interviews people were like, don't ask him about that. Like, don't.
Wow.
Like he couldn't even be like, oh, I'm happy for her or whatever. Like,
I'm sure
that's what I heard. I may be wrong, but no, yeah, Point Break's hilarious because I know a guy I work with who's been skydiving for like 40 years. And obviously there's that amazing free fall skydive scene in that movie.
Yeah.
And literally like overnight when that movie came out, he said skydiving like tripled in its popularity.
Wow.
Like people were running to go skydiving after that, which I think is hilarious that like watching Patrick Swayze and Keanu Reeves with like long hair, like being bros, like influenced so many people. I just love that.
The surf too.
Dude, that's a flawless movie. That's a sick movie. It's got action. It's got extreme sports. Dude,
so good.
Gotta watch it tonight.
No, I just watched it like a week ago with Veronica, and because I know she directed it, and I don't know, someone was just saying how it's really good, and I was like, you know what? I feel like we think it's like a corny movie, which it does have corny moments to it, but like overall, it's just like I'm not even like mad at Keanu Reeves. Like I feel like he gets a bad rap too in general.
I love that line where she's like, "Why do you always look focused all the time? You always got that serious, focused face." And I love that because he's like an undercover cop. Oh, I'm about to watch that shit tonight. Literally.
Yeah, it's
you got me hype on that movie.
It's really fun.
And it's fucking Gary Busey's like, "Get me 2 chili dogs and 2 lemonades." Like,
me too.
Yeah,
it's so good.
And they're like, why get food right when you're staking out? Like, what? like, why get it right then? It makes no sense.
I feel like I wish like Noah could be here talking to him with us. Are you a fan of like the Marvel stuff?
Obviously, like, that shit started coming out when I was in middle school, and now they've made 20 million films. I'm a nerd, so I'm always gonna show up for that shit. Like I'm always gonna check it out at least.
Yeah.
I thought obviously when Iron Man came out, it was kind of crazy because like Nolan was dominating the superhero movie thing with Dark Knight, and Batman Begins. Yeah. And then like Iron Man came out, and then Dark Knight came out right after it, and it kind of blew it out of the water a little bit. But what they did with tying it all in, I thought was amazing. Like if you go back and watch Iron Man now, it's such a pro-America, pro-war, pro-capitalist film, but like Robert Downey Jr. is perfect for it, and he charms you into loving the movie. I do like some of them. I think they had to make a lot of movies to get to the point where they could make movies like Endgame and Infinity War. And Endgame was like, I was so relieved I liked Endgame. I was so happy that Endgame was actually good.
I've seen it. It's like I've seen it 7 times.
Dude, I've seen it probably that amount of times at least.
So Wikum is like obsessed, and he's showing me
it started
Zack
with
Snyder's Justice League, the new cut, which is fucking insane. Like I don't think I normally would have even paid attention to any of that, but like Wikum has put me up on a lot of that, and I really like diving into it because it really is your generation's like it's
Star
like
Wars.
Everything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, our generation Star Wars is not Star Wars in my opinion.
Yeah,
like those new ones, it's just like those fucking came and went, bro, and they will.
But what's crazy is the first 3 are fucking amazing.
The originals?
No, like, well, not no, like
trilogy.
The one you're watching.
The first prequels.
Yeah, with the exception of Jar Jar Binks. I don't love Jar Jar, but like, I mean, that's the only thing that
okay.
like
I don't think many people do.
I do love him, but like he just gets a little bit. It's weird how like Chewbacca and Jar Jar and like CP3, like they are kind of annoying, but like
they get a little shrill. Yeah,
but it's almost like a necessary. You learn to love. It's weird, bro. I don't know how he did this, but everything is perfect.
Like the prequels are so funny because they're like widely disliked.
Yeah.
But now that they've made these like creative decision by committee corporate product films, you go back and you're like, oh, it's actually amazing they let George Lucas have full creative control and just be an insane person and make all these creative, like weird choices.
And they're all good.
I mean, that's debatable, obviously, but I like it. You know what I mean? Like,
I love it. When I watch those films, I'm like, this is what George Lucas intended to make. And I think that for me, dude, it just fucking, it all works, man. And then to be able to see, dude, we're downstairs in the basement of my sober living. There's 21 people here, the newly sober addicts and alcoholics. It's pretty much an insane asylum.
wow.
And I go upstairs. I mean, they're all like really cool kids, you know, they're just like misfit. It's like school for scoundrels, you know. But like I've been referencing Lord of the Rings and Star Wars a lot. They like laugh when I do it, but it's like the lessons in those films are so profound.
Yeah.
Like
they are. I mean,
to see Anakin and then to see him, how he became Darth Vader is so, and to see the council talking about like fear, I sense too much fear in this kid. And like, he's too old and like what a Jedi is. And it's just insane, dude.
Yeah, dude.
It's never.
I'm probably going to watch it. I fell asleep watching, because, you know, I throw these on in the background, but sometimes you just kind of turn the volume up and start watching. And I did that with the beginning of Attack of the Clones. I love how that movie opens, where it's like they go to Coruscant and then it gets dark out and then they have to chase the bounty hunter through the city. And then and it's like this crazy midnight race. Like watching that late at night, about to fall asleep, it was just a vibe. I might finish that movie.
Yeah, when the little worms go through the
yeah. I must have almost worn the VHS like out from watching that when I was a kid.
Really?
Because I saw Phantom Menace in theaters, and then I didn't see the second one in theaters, but I got it on VHS. My parents bought it for me like the day of my birthday party, and I watched that thing over and over and over and over and over again. And they had like a 20-minute vignette before the movie. Remember when VHSs, you kind of had to watch commercials and shit? Like I miss that kind of like forcing me to watch trailers and shit. But they had like a little vignette that was like a summary of what had happened in Star Wars and like the timeline and shit.
Wow.
And that was basically when I got introduced to old Star Wars, was like through watching that. I was like, oh, these other movies are crazy. And I remember watching them as a very young child, but that was like what made me kind of go back. But
yeah, that scene reminds me a lot of Blade Runner.
yes,
It's like that vibe, which I fucking like am pretty much obsessed with, like the Denis Villeneuve Blade Runner and him as a director in general. And I'm really excited to see what he does with Dune.
Yeah.
I don't really know. I mean, the original Dune I tried watching a little while ago, and I guess it's kind of cool, but
I haven't seen it. I've been trying. I have the book. I started it right when it was going to come out, like last year, because I wanted to read it beforehand, and then I just started reading a bunch of other shit once they pushed it out. But now it's coming out in October, I think.
Oh,
right?
It is.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be fucking.
It could be pretty badass. He made that Blade Runner. A lot of people did not like that new Blade Runner movie. Like, I thought it was. I was like, this is like exactly like Blade Runner 1. It's the same pace.
Fucking amazing.
Yeah, it
literally feels like he had Ridley Scott sitting next to him, and he was looking at him like, is this cool if we do this every step of the way? But like,
yeah.
The tone and it's, I think people didn't fuck with it because it really is slow and like deep the way the first one was, which I never really fucked with the first one until I saw it. Like, I like forced myself to understand it and to like it. But it wasn't until after I saw the new one that I was really able to appreciate the first one. And just Ridley Scott, just in general, with like Prometheus. And I think Prometheus is probably the best sci-fi film ever made. But I mean,
that's your favorite?
I think that's another one that's like misunderstood, like,
dude, I definitely went into that movie with the wrong expectations, because they were advertising it like it was going to be like Alien 1, which is like one of my favorite movies. Because they even had like the siren noise in the trailer, like it was gonna, like the Alien 1 trailer was. If you look up the trailers for the two of them, they're the exact same. But that movie is way more like weird and like drawn out in certain ways, and like the way the aliens transform is so different than how the xenomorphs in the original kind of, like, it's really bizarre.
It was more of like a philosophical movie about like life and like what life is about. And a lot of people, that's why I was like a little disappointed with the next one, Alien Covenant, because they went like back to like the original formula, which is like the jump scares and stuff. But like, I actually enjoyed that, like the super, like with Michael Fassbender, like talking about like life and
the music and the energy, like and it's almost like horrifying. Like, if you really imagine landing on that planet the way they did, and then like they're talking about the straight lines, and it's like them finding the ship, and it has this like horrifying realness about it. I don't know what it is. You might try watching it again. It's like really, really a fucking, I think, a masterpiece.
My favorite scene is, I remember being like stoned out of my mind watching it, is when they were trying to find like who created humans and like why they were created. And then Michael Fassbender asked, like, why did you create me? And they're like, because we can. And then he was like, what if they say the same thing to you?
What if your creator said that to you?
Yeah. I was like,
bro, you got me wanting to go back. Yeah, that is horror. You got me wanting to go back and rewatch that.
Yeah, because we could. And Michael Fassbender's like, dude, could you imagine how fucking horrible that would sound if your creator said that to you?
Yeah.
And this is the idea that like we were created by some other. And then there's even this like really, really cool, like low-key Jesus reference. And if you go into the Reddit like threads about like what the movie's about, like Ridley Scott talks about how the engineers, they created the human race by one of them ingesting that liquid and then dissolving into the amphibian, which became the human. And they sent one of their representatives down to Earth to try to like fix the direction humans were going in. And that's like loosely, that was Jesus. And then we fucking killed him like violently killed this person. And then that's when the mechanics were like, okay, this race is fucking dog shit and they need to be exterminated.
We got a bad batch.
Yeah, we'd have to fucking kill all of them.
Bro, that's making me want to go back and rewatch that one now.
No, it's really, really fucking good.
Have you seen the last one I'll mention? Have you seen Annihilation? Which I think is
Natalie
yeah.
Portman.
Yeah, I have. I don't remember liking it, but I would love to watch it again because it's one of my favorite directors. Is that Denise too?
I think
Somebody like dope.
I think so. I think so.
It's like his own IT guy. He's got his laptop. He's like, we want to have a Jamie, you know, the guy who looks at
right.
But like,
it's Alex Garland who directed Ex Machina, which is another flawless fucking sci-fi movie.
I was so excited about Annihilation, and then I just remember it being like ooh, like this. It went like the second half. I thought was like it just got carried away.
Yeah, it's not as much of like a closed loop sci-fi kind of little story as Ex Machina. It feels way more kind of open-ended and weird at the end, like kind of experimental. But the in between, like whatever gets you there, and the music, man, that's what I was really thinking of.
Yeah,
the music in Annihilation is not. All these movies we're talking about have amazing music.
That's really what makes them.
But yeah. Yeah, man.
That's a tone and a vibe.
Yeah.
But look, I don't know it kind of feels like, I don't know if you might have to go or not, but I just wanted to pivot real quick. Have you been
no problem.
A lot of content violations on TikTok lately? Like, what the fuck is going on, dude?
Not lately, but
bro, I'm banned for 48 hours and I got banned twice last week for 24 hours.
That's bizarre. Like, what are you posting that's so provocative?
Oh my god, dude! It's nothing. It's like nothing. It's
you're just talking, right?
It's Veronica. Stuff. I showed Veronica's necklace that has a weed leaf on it, and we're talking about how it's a weed leaf.
It's TikTok. I'm telling you, will take anything down that's weed related instantaneously. I did that little campaign with Dankstop.
Yeah.
And I posted that video I did with it. I tried to make a TikTok for them to put it in my thing. And it wouldn't even publish. They wouldn't even let it post. That's how strict they are. But yeah, I mean, we can wrap up. I'd be happy to come on again at some point. But the one thing I wanted to leave you with is because we're on a podcast and I'm thinking of movie scores. There's this, my friend sent me. So I was a really big, I don't know if you follow any of this or if you know who this guy is, like the podcast, but I used to really be into Joe Budden's podcast, the Joe Budden podcast. When I moved to New York, I discovered them kind of around the time when Pusha T was like beefing with Drake and they were reacting to it. And it was very entertaining how they were reacting to it. And I got into the show heavy, and I would listen to their podcast, 2.5 hour podcast, twice a week for like 2 years. And they had this big public falling out, and it's almost like an Anakin Skywalker story of like greed and overreach and things like that, because Joe Budden's whole message was equity and ownership, and creatives should have ownership of what they make and blah, blah, blah. And there's this video out there that my friend Max sent to me that he found that I had never seen. And he doesn't watch the podcast, but it's called Joe Budden Destroying His Podcast for 26 minutes straight. And it's a clip compilation of him and his co-hosts talking in different videos about this situation, and they put the Social Network like theme under it, the Trent Reznor theme.
Yeah, it's the best fucking thing ever,
dude. And it makes it so dramatic. It's insane. I highly recommend anyone watching this or listening to this, check out Joe Budden Destroys His Podcast for 26 minutes. It's like watching a fucking like play or like a movie trailer or something like that. It's crazy.
Yeah. You just, if you could just text us the link.
Yeah, absolutely.
In that group. But so, yeah, this is actually something I've been kind of freaking out about lately. I've actually been like frantically trying to get verified and like frantically trying to reach somebody at TikTok because I'm afraid my account's going to get deleted because I have so many violations. Have you ever like had that fear?
I've had
Like
some
how many
fear.
violations have you gotten?
Oh, I mean, I've had videos taken down, bullying, sex, this, that, the third, like dozens of times. I've never been locked out of my account, but I did get kicked off the creator creator thing, the creator fund, but they're now restoring it in September apparently for me. They're just making it a 6-month suspension.
Yeah, but that's if you get approved.
Right.
It's insane.
Yeah.
It's just, but like,
no, there's no transparency. It's one of the worst apps for that thing ever made. We honestly need to have a whole nother podcast episode where we talk about just TikTok.
No, I mean,
I could go on and on and on and on.
Yeah, I really would like to, because we didn't really even talk about the negative. You get a lot of the negativity is that like overwhelming to you?
That's a whole other thing, because it's like
fucking video that you made. I've showed it to so many people where you're like, "Hi, my life is good, and for that reason, I'm no longer gonna be reading TikTok." Which I made the same fucking video, but like, you know, after a couple months go by, like you see a couple comments and you just end up back in the comments. Like it's
right.
Possible to not. And now I have this video that has 2.5 million views, and it's my friend Danielle. I don't know if you saw this video, but the waiter, she's like, "We've been waiting here for 20 minutes. Like, where's our food?" And she's like, "We're gonna have fucking issues." She's kind of like a strong, like female that like just like, you know, has like an aggressive personality. And
I don't think I saw it, but
dude,
that's funny.
She's being attacked. I mean, people want her to die because she was like complaining about the service at this restaurant, which in the end, she was like, "I love this guy." And it resolved well. And the restaurant reached out to her. The video went so viral that the restaurant has now reached out to her and they want us to come back, and we're going to like do a cool piece on them. And like, but
I love that, because you could tie it into your whole sort of philosophy too.
Yeah, but it's just insane, like how people are foaming at the mouth. I mean, you might not get it as much as we do.
It's algorithmic. Like it's completely algorithmic.
Oh, I also love that post he did. You explained it in a really great way, where you were basically saying another thing I said, which was the algorithm promotes engagement, which it promotes, and people talk about
negativity. Yeah. Because I think your video, they try to find people who aren't going to like it first.
Yeah.
I genuinely think that.
How does it even know though? Like put the
it's metadata. It's all metadata. If you like this movie and you're this old and you're this gender and you're this thing and you like this and you've clicked that, they have all that. They can take this data and they can make huge data sets and run deep learning algorithms through them and get metadata based on what you've done. Every single thing you've interacted with for the past year can tell them millions of things that are unique to only you, and probably like 3 people like you. Like it's that crazy, man.
Yeah, I think this will be really good to dive into. Like, so a lot of my guests I have on multiple times if it goes well, because I definitely feel like there's next time I'll have so many more things I'd like to talk about, but you definitely have noticed like haters.
Yeah. And I mean, like TikTok doesn't present an accurate like cross section of your actual haters. It's like a 30% plus handicap. You know what I mean?
The thing I'm dealing with, which I don't know if you're aware of this, or I don't know if you've seen it, I have like multiple people that have built entire pages around trying to destroy me and this house and everything I'm trying to do surrounding recovery.
I've heard you reference that.
Like, you don't understand, bro. So I had a Vimeo account, right, where I posted all my unedited raw footage, because I have this other show I do on YouTube. It's sort of like a reality show. I don't know if you've seen it, but they're like 30-minute episodes. And this woman ripped every single thing that was on that Vimeo page, hours and hours and hours of footage, and found all the little things that made us look like worse than we would normally even, and like kind of spun it in like this crazy way. Like Danielle just walked in, like her entire reputation in this industry is shot because this woman started sending a recovery podcast. Here, say hi to Connor. How cool is that? We have Connor.
Hi, Connor. Oh, shit.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
I've showed her a bunch of your stuff too.
Yeah, I love you.
Appreciate the love.
But yeah, it's been really, really gnarly just to see the fucking the level of the dedication on some of these Karens. But I'm sure you don't get anything anywhere near that.
I don't get people like taking my videos and going through them bit by bit and scrutinizing them. Luckily, that's not what happened. I mean, people will react if they don't like an opinion I have, they'll stitch it, you know. But apart from that, it's just, you know, you say destroy, but it's like, how much can they really do? You know what I mean?
No, they can't do shit, but one of the women was smart enough to send certain things to this Facebook group, and this industry is very like, it's like, you know, it's the recovery industry, and we're like near Malibu, so there's a lot. They're like, I mean, you want to talk about like secrecy and just like anonymity and all this shit. Like they put a bunch of crazy shit about Danielle, like body brokering and like doing people like lies, really. And that Facebook group believed. Or it's almost like, you know, cancel culture nowadays is like, you're guilty until proven innocent. If something comes out on you, people are like, they're distancing themselves from you just based on the assumption alone.
It's another variable in this chaotic world we live in. We just got to keep muscling through that shit.
Yeah. So I think this could be like a good place to pick up next time.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for doing this. And, you know, we went through some hurdles trying to set it up because he's 3 hours ahead, and, you know, we have the schedule here and all this stuff, but, we're going to just keep enjoying your videos, and, thanks for being you, bro.
Yeah, man. And you got me. I'll be on again, and,
awesome.
You know, keep having fun doing what you're doing, and be safe, and do not do their work for them by like inflating it in your mind and making it seem bigger. Honestly, the best thing to do is to just block. I'm a big believer in block. Just block the hell out of them. Just block the hell out of them.
You know what? We blocked a lot of them, and Wikum was just noticing like there's not as much negativity. I feel like the negative and the positive almost comes in waves. Like sometimes it'll just be all good, and then sometimes it'll be all bad because people are jumping on the bad train.
Absolutely. Yeah. And TikTok definitely makes that easier for people.
Yeah.
'Cause you can go into a TikTok comment section. It's either good or it's either bad. Everyone it's all the same.
Right.
But anyways.
Cool, bro.
Yeah.
Well, we'll talk.
Keep it moving, and Godspeed and good luck.
Right on, brother.
Appreciate it, man.
Bye.
Bye.
Later.
Bye-bye.